Hey everyone, welcome back to the Low Buy Life. I am Leslie and thank you for joining me today. We are talking about simple rules for your low buy. So a few months ago, I changed my channel name to the Low Buy Life and I absolutely love it. I'm so glad I changed it because this is really the principle that I live by, is doing a low buy. I want to be very mindful with my purchases. I found a no buy to be a little too tight and something that wasn't quite sustainable. I mean, you can only go so long buying things that you only absolutely need. So I thought low buy just made so much sense for me and my family, and I know a lot of people are looking into low buys for themselves. So I wanted to make a video just talking about general rules for your low buy. So these are low buy rules that actually work, and it is a short list. I only have 5 of them, but I wanted to show you that you don't have to have a long list of rules, things that you're going to buy or not buy, and very specific kind of rules. You just need to have some general principles to go by whenever you're looking into buying something or you're feeling that urge to shop. So these 5 rules, if you stick to these, then you will be on the right track for your low buy. And I hope you have a lot of success as I have with going by these rules. Number 1, don't ban categories, ban impulse purchases. So with a no buy, you tend to ban a lot of discretionary spending. So you're banning things like hobby spending or clothing spending and these entire categories. But I think it makes a lot more sense to look more at the impulse purchases rather than entire categories. Because I mean, some of these things, even if they're not needs, things like hobby spending or spending on your wants or maybe upgrading a tech device you own or whatever it happens to be. So these are things that can really help with your morale and just how you feel. I know for me, hobbies bring me so much joy, and I really tried to drop my hobby spending to 0 as much as I could over the past year, and I kind of just gave up because I would rather be happy and have that little bit of extra spending each month to devote to hobbies. I mean, maybe you're someone who likes to go out to eat. You could easily put that into your budget. The point here is just to be very mindful with what you're doing and not impulse buy. So I'm not anti-buying in general. I am very much anti-buying on the spot, if that makes sense. So if you are, especially if you are online shopping, this is so easy because you can generally just save your cart or save things for later. Especially like on Amazon, I'm always saving things for later, and sometimes I'll go back and look at all the things that I was going to buy and that I didn't buy, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, who was this person who added this to my list? Like, it's stuff that I just have no interest in. So save things for later as you're adding them to your wish list, and then come back to them after a cool off period. So this cooling off period can be really whatever works for you. It could be a day or 2 at the very least. It could be a few days, a week. I mean, it could even be 2 weeks or more. Just something to separate you from your purchase. And I would say just go kind of as long as you can. So another thing that is helpful to do is to actually make a list of things that you wanted to buy and that you didn't buy. If you want, you can add the dollar amount so you can see how much you potentially saved. That's a good idea. But even if you just write down the item on a list, you can go back and look at that the way I look at my saved items, and you can see all the things that you thought about buying and didn't, and you can kind of reevaluate, like, wow, would I have even used that? Like, would I have even opened the box? You can go back and just see some of the things that you were thinking about, and it can be really eye-opening to do that. So the next thing, number 2, is to decide before you are tempted. So this is actually where it comes in handy to have some hard rules, like some specific rules for what you're buying. So you might say an automatic yes to things like replacements or planned upgrades. Like I mentioned, the tech upgrades. Like, I know at some point I'm going to need to upgrade my laptop. It's almost 10 years old and it's just getting to that point where it's running so slow. I think I'm going to do a factory reset and see if that helps. But either way, that is a planned upgrade for me that I will have to do at some point. Things like child needs. So if my daughter needs something, obviously I'm going to spend on it. So especially if it's like a need, so that's an automatic yes. So everything else is an automatic no until after the cool off period, or at least until after you reevaluate everything. Number 3, replacements are allowed and upgrades are questioned. So upgrading is a decision that you'll have to make. As I mentioned with my laptop, it's not completely useless yet. Not that it needs to get to that point, but I can still use it fine. And like I said, I'm going to try a factory reset first to see if that helps with some of the issues with how it's being slow. So if it's something that is broken or otherwise you can't use it and you need it, then obviously that would be okay. Another question you can ask is, does this solve a real problem? So if something is broken, do you actually need to replace it? Because the answer might be no. I mean, like with my laptop, I really don't use it that much, but there are some things that I specifically need a laptop for. So for me, that's going to be a yes. But if it was something like, this is such a bad example, but my iPad, I absolutely love my iPad. I use it every day. It is so convenient to have the iPad in front of me instead of having to start up my slow old laptop. But if I had a quicker laptop and it was more accessible to use and easier, it's quite possible that if my iPad went out of service, I might not need to replace it. Which, yeah, right, I'm going to replace it because I like drawing on there. But either way, you get my point. Definitely reconsider things that are broken or otherwise unusable if you actually need a new one. Number 4, ask what, when, and why, or whatever other questions help you. So try to determine what you're going to use it for, when you're going to use it, and why do you need it. You can ask a question like, what problem does this solve? Why do I want it is a good one. Do you just want it because it's something trendy, or is it something you actually need, or is it something that you think that you would really enjoy? That's okay too. So definitely just be intentional here. If you can't answer these questions about what you're considering, it's quite possible that you don't need it. And number 5, I already talked about this a little bit, but it is give yourself some freedom. Make sure you do have a little bit of discretionary spending, that you allow yourself to spend on things that you just want, that you enjoy, that aren't necessarily needs. I mean, it could be anything. Like I said, hobbies for me. It could be maybe you just really enjoy fashion and you want to buy some extra clothes that you don't necessarily need. If you are very intentional with it, if it is things that you are going to wear, just ask yourself those questions that I mentioned before. And it's possible to buy yourself just some fun clothes that you can have because you enjoy fashion. So the point is that you don't want to feel deprived. I do recommend with making some of these things experiences rather than stuff, especially if it's something like hobby spending or clothing. That's stuff that can really clutter up your place. I know I had to do a big declutter last year because I just went a little too overboard with the clothes and the hobbies and all of that stuff in the past years. So I had to declutter quite a bit. So to avoid having to declutter, just don't bring it into your house in the first place. But you can also focus on things like maybe you want to go to the movies. We took our daughter to the movies for the first time last year and she absolutely loved it. So we'll definitely be doing that again. Things like a small vacation, maybe like a weekend getaway sort of deal. Last year we went to the Renaissance Fair and that was a lot of fun. So trying to look into things that are experiences that you can enjoy, especially with other people. If you have a family, it's always fun to do things as a family. So that is a good option as well. The whole point here is to avoid things like rebellion spending, I guess you could call it, where much like with a diet, if you feel too deprived for too long, you end up overeating because you missed out on all these foods and it's just irresistible to you at this point. Same thing with spending. If you don't allow yourself to spend and you keep your budget way too tight and you don't have any fun, it's quite possible that you'll go the other direction and overspend and possibly regret it. So that is something we want to avoid. And similarly, doom spending, where maybe your budget is tight, but you're still saving money more slowly than you would have liked. You might think to yourself, like, what is the point here? I'm hardly saving anything. My budget is so tight. All I'm eating is rice and beans. I'm having no fun, and I still don't have that much to show for it. And then you just say, whatever, I'm just going to go spend everything now. That is another mindset that you really want to avoid with doing your low buy. So that was the list. I know it was short and sweet, but like I said, these principles, if you can get these things into your head, it will really help make a huge difference in your spending, and you really will see a difference. So I hope this was helpful, and let me know below, are you doing a no buy? Are you doing a no buy, which I did for about a month officially, maybe like the first quarter of last year was kind of a no buy. By March though, I really started to spend a bit more, which is okay. But yeah, if you're doing a no buy, then kudos to you, because I definitely struggled with that beyond like 1 month. But anyway, definitely drop me a comment, a like, and subscribe if you like these kind of videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.